So, how do consumers participate, and what are the steps needed to get set up? Let's have a look at an example to illustrate how this could work. Meet Kate and Dave. They both manage hotels in Auckland and are keen to get involved. What does Transpower require from a consumer in order for them to participate in demand response? To get set up as a curtailment service provider, Kate and Dave need to meet certain requirements. Are they in the right location? Auckland in this case. That's fine, they are both in Auckland. Do they both have a building management system which allows them to control their demand? Both hotels have a building management system in place. This allows them to control lighting, heating, and cooling. Can they reduce their demand for 2 to 3 hours at a time, in both winter and summer? That's fine too. They're confident they can make minor adjustments to heating, lighting, and cooling using the building management system while still keeping their customers happy. Are they able to measure and capture their data, access and send this to Transpower? To do this, they'll need the internet and a time of use meter. They both have time of use meters, and Kate thinks this should be fine. But for Dave, it's starting to sound a little bit complicated. Finally, are they prepared to respond to a Transpower call at any time? Kate's happy with this, as her hotel has 24/7 staffing. But Dave is not so sure. As you've heard, Kate seems really keen. There are a couple of things she'll need to do and some costs involved. Dave is having his doubts, but wants to know more before he makes a decision. Let's look at the steps they have to take to become a curtailment service provider. Remember, the CSPs are the ones who contract directly with Transpower. Before entering into a demand response contract with Transpower, they need to complete these tasks. Transpower communicates with CSPs through their Demand Response Management System, or DRMS. So CSPs first have to register in the DRMS. They have to set up their resources to monitor calls and maintain the information in the DRMS, for example, using their staffing roster. Program their building management system to respond to a signal from Transpower. Set up their infrastructure to send metering information back to the DRMS for compliance and settlement. And finally, all CSPs are required to perform a self-test to prove that everything works. Right, so that's the plan. Kate invests in the infrastructure and decides she can manage the risks to make sure she delivers on her contract with Transpower. Kate is now a fully fledged CSP. What about Dave? He'd like to be his own CSP, but decides it's too hard. He does, however, have demand response capability and wants to get some financial benefit. He can still be involved by working through a third party who is already a CSP and works with others in his situation. They can help with things like configuring the building management system, monitoring calls, and they can even help Dave with his setup costs. So what are the financial outcomes for Kate and Dave? First of all, let's look at the availability payment. Kate receives the full payment, as she's a CSP in her own right. For Dave, his CSP manages the availability payments for the consumers it represents and takes a management fee to cover its costs and risks. His CSP passes a proportion of the payment it receives to Dave and the other consumers it represents. Although he doesn't receive the full payment, Dave is happy with this outcome. So what about the delivery payment? During an event, both Kate and Dave's CSPs respond. Kate receives the full delivery payment. Dave's CSP also receives the delivery payment. After deducting its management fee, Dave's CSP divvies up the payments among the consumers it selected to be involved. In this case, Dave was one of them. Let's look at another event where Kate and Dave's CSP are called on. Again, Kate responds and receives the full delivery payment. Dave's CSP also responds, but does not include Dave this time, and so he does not receive a proportion of this delivery payment. So you can see Kate and Dave have different arrangements, resulting in different costs and benefits. Dave chose not to become a CSP himself, and had the setup and work handled by a third party. He is happy with the outcome because he still receives some financial benefit. Whereas Kate had to put in more time and money to set up and configure her infrastructure, but she now has more control over her demand response involvement and receives the full financial benefits. You can find more information on demand response and how you can get involved on our website.